Let's get ready for Monday Mortgage Minute with your hosts, Tom McNamara and Bruce Woodburn.
There you go.
Bruce.
Happy Monday.
Yes, sir. It is.
All right, great June, baby. June.
That's right. It is the first business day of June. And,
This is the hump month, right? In the end of this month, we've got halfway through the year by the end of this month.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
goes
right.
so fast.
And it is my youngest's birth month.
Congratulations.
Yep. She's going to be 19 at the end of the month. Yeah, getting ready. I'm getting ready to downsize, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So,
for you.
but I know we talk a lot about the mortgage market, and I think there's a lot going on in the market itself right now. But I wanted to take a little time to talk about the buyer's market that I think we're in.
So look I want to ask you a question then, because I was looking for what is causing people to buy right now. Where are they buying? Is this the right time to buy? And you can't trust the internet, but you can get information on trends for the internet. And what I'm finding is that there is an uptick in the first-time home buyers jumping back into the market right now. So
Sure.
There's an uptick for first-time home buyers. Either they have just come to the resolution that interest rates are not likely going to get better and that housing prices is not going to get cheaper. But if we look at that, we've seen houses settle. Now, when I look at that, in my opinion, I don't think the housing prices have dropped. I think the housing prices have dropped to where they should have been, and that people were getting a little more and the market's just settled a little bit. But
Sure.
We still hear people say, oh, the market's going to crash, or I'm going to wait for interest rates to drop. So what do you say to those people?
Yeah, it's hard to convince somebody that thinks the market's going to crash that it's not going to crash.
It's a tough thing.
Yeah, and certainly it could, right? I mean, stranger things have happened, but I don't believe the indications are there that it's going to, because every time we see a house that sits for any little length of time, as soon as they start having price drops, it goes under contract. And so what that's telling me is that some sellers are being unreasonable with their pricing. And however, they're being flexible and reasonable when they get offers. I'm getting most of my offers when I'm the buyer's agent. Most of my offers have the seller reducing the price and giving seller credit to the buyer for closing costs and paying full commission. And if not all three of those, at least two.
Yes.
And whereas if we wait until the market stabilizes, then they're not going to be giving away those things.
No, they won't give you anything. No.
And so maybe you get the house for the same price, but you don't get free money to close with. You
Credit,
might have your
closing costs.
Yeah, and closing costs are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Closing costs are expensive. Average, at least as far as I've seen, is somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000.
Yeah,
an average house.
Generally between 3% and 6% is usually where you're going to see closing costs.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much good news in the market if you're a buyer right now, if you're prepared. Now, if you are an unprepared buyer, if you don't have good income, good credit, if you don't have some reserves, if you don't have some cash, and your lease is about to be up, it's probably not prime time for you to get in the market, right? It's time for you to prepare for the market, right? But if you've got the money, if you've got the credit, and you're ready to be a homeowner, and by the way, it's a commitment. It's like getting a dog, right? You don't get a dog and then return it to the pound. You get a dog, that's a 12 to 18 year commitment that you need to make. And the same thing with a house. You've got to stay in there for 5 to 7 years. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
I agree with that.
But if you're one of those people, man, you got to get out there and get into this market, because I'm getting people deals. I'm getting people a lot of money. I just had I sold their house and they bought a house. They actually got a check at the closing when they bought their house. They got more money back than they put in.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So I want to ask you another question off the topic. And that is, I have started to see a resurgence of these companies coming in that get people to pay them to join an organization or buy their systems for learning how to flip properties with no money down.
Yeah.
We didn't see them for a while. Now they're all of a sudden starting to pop back up again. Now, you're a professional investor. Okay. I've owned a lot of properties, but you truly are what I consider a professional investor. You've done a bunch of flips. You've done all kinds of wholesaling that people call it. So what do you think about these companies that sell these systems to people to try to get you to do it for no money down?
Yeah, you can, and it is popular again because there are opportunities out there, right? So you have a lot of people that might have bought in the last, let's say, 3 years or so. And if they need to sell, right, they're not often in a position where they've built up enough equity to pay the costs to sell, right? Which is why I say be committed for 5 to 7 years, right? And with interest rates being higher, their mortgage is very attractive. They might have a 2 or 3% mortgage, and
Sure.
they might only have 10 or 15, $20,000 of equity in their house. So a savvy investor can actually come to them and make an arrangement where they take over their mortgage payment, either through an assumption, which is what the bank would want, or through another mechanism called subject to, that banks don't really prefer, but they honestly, I don't think they care much as long as they keep getting their money. But so if you can take over that mortgage, you can come in with very little money out of pocket. I know they tout no money down or no money out of your pocket, and maybe that happens on occasion. Most of the time, you're
I've
putting.
been doing this too long to think that's the truth.
Yeah, it's definite. It can happen. It has happened. But
Anything can happen, but
exactly, but it's not common. But you don't have to come out with a ton of money. I bought a house. One subject to that. It cost me $8,000 at closing.
yeah,
It cost me $8,000 at closing, and I took over their mortgage and I fixed it up. It cost me another $8,000 to fix it up. It needed a little bit of paint and carpet and stuff like that. I threw a tenant in there, kept it for a couple of years, and then sold it and settled out the mortgage.
great.
Perfectly legit. People were happy. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got financially taken advantage of.
Most of these deals where you're going to these seminars, the people that make money are the people that are putting on the free seminar.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they've got a program that they're going to sell for $500 to $15,000 and teach you ins and outs of it. Honestly, if you're going to do it, you can do it, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. You've got to go get lists. You've got to pay for the lists. You've got to send out letters. You've got to make all these phone calls. You got to go do skip
It's a
trace,
job.
find these people. It's a job and it's worth it. Don't get me wrong, people. I know people that make a lot of money doing it. I know several multimillionaires that did that hard for 10 years and now they don't have to do anything. They don't work.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely not, it's not easy. And that's
No.
I think that's what they put it out
It's
as.
no easy money.
It's simple. It's simple, but not easy.
That was great information. I think just to recap today, then, if you really do want to buy a home, don't try to time the market.
No.
Right now is probably the best time because you can get repairs, you can get closing costs, sellers are willing to work with you.
Mhm.
So now is a great time. If
Yeah.
if you're waiting for the market to crash, very highly unlikely. Like you said, anything can happen.
Sure.
Did we expect housing prices to go up 23% per year during COVID? Nobody
Nope.
would have expected that.
Nope. And we're seeing payback for that because they went a little bit too high.
Yes, they
That's
did.
why we're seeing the market reset like it is.
I agree. And that's why I said, I don't really think housing prices have dropped. They just dropped from where they were overly inflated.
Yeah.
So,
I think every one of my listings, Bruce, in the last, I've sold a bunch. I don't have the number in front of me, but it's 8 in the last 60 days. They've all gone under contract in less than a month.
yeah.
And I've only had one of them come out of contract because something was wrong or closing. And as I said, the sellers they're giving closing cost credits. They're reasonable on their price. That's the key for me. I see listings sitting. People, listings are sitting forever. Yeah, you price them wrong. If you price them right, man, they go right under contract.
Absolutely. And if somebody does want to investigate flipping or they have a property that they've found that they'd like some help with, you and I can always help them with that too. Because
absolutely.
and it's not uncommon for people to listen to this and say, hey, my neighbor's got a house and I'd like to buy that house and flip it. Come to us. We might even be willing to invest and help you with it if there's something to be gained in it. So let us know if that's the case. In the meantime, this is a great time to buy. Interest rates aren't bad. They're about a point lower than they have been for the last average. Okay. Because their average over the last 30 years is 7.5%. Last we looked up what they were 25 years ago. 25 years ago, they were 8.5%. And 30 years ago, they were 7.5%. We're at 6.5, 6.75 now. You don't have anything to complain about. So let's go buy a house, sell a house. Let's make this happen. The reason they call American money currency is because it has to keep moving. So let's keep money moving.
That's right.
Have a
Absolutely.
great week.
Bruce, you have a great week yourself, my friend.
Same to you.